Hello, everybody. This is Lee at Fresh Astrology. And I just want to continue sort of what I've been sort of talking to you about lately and discussing is that from my point of view, and the way it really seems to me, is that the planets live inside of you. They really act like a part of your DNA, a part of your energy. And I think you actually, it's not that they act like you, it's that you act like them. You embody planetary energy. I don't know how that happens, but it just is the way it really seems after, over a decade doing this. And also understanding that even if you know nothing about astrology, you're not paying attention to a chart, you feel the astrology. You start acting off of the astrology, acting on the astrology. You have certain emotional states that seem related to the astrology. So whatever's happening with the planets and where they're placed, somehow it comes into the sphere of Earth and somehow interacts with us as energy. And we end up expressing this energy in certain ways. So I wanted to talk today about Venus. I feel like in the year 2020, when I'm recording this, there's been a lot of focus, and rightly so, on Pluto and Saturn because there's so much going on this year with Pluto and Saturn and Jupiter too. So these three kind of slower moving planets, they get like bigger billing, they kind of absorb the limelight in astrology. Pluto in particular can really scare people. It can seem to dominate the story sometimes, depending on where it is in your chart. And people certainly tend to pay attention to Pluto when it is somewhere. And they can kind of over-focus, hyper-focus on planets like Pluto and Saturn and Uranus and Jupiter. But in Venus, on the other hand, is this, it moves much more quickly. It kind of loosely tracks the sun. Sometimes through a retrograde, it may move, kind of further away from the sun, but it's usually kind of loosely tracking the sun. Sometimes a little ahead, sometimes lagging behind, sometimes really close. So Venus is the planet of love. And so many people, when they come into astrology, they're wanting to understand something about their own love lives. And they want more love in their lives. So Venus, this little tiny planet moves more quickly. It's not getting top billing most of the time. Is very, very important to us. And in fact, of all the planets, I think Venus is the single most revered and desired planetary energy. And what I want you to understand in this video, is that you are Venus. You embody Venus all the time. You're never without Venus. And in fact, if I showed you your birth chart, you would see, the way, in Western astrology, it's a circle if you've never seen one before. It looks a little like a pizza with slices. And your birth chart actually encompasses all the zodiac signs, all the planets, and the sun and the moon, and other stuff, whatever else is out there. You are all the planets, and you definitely are Venus. And you were born with Venus energy, and it's never left you. It's never not there. It's just we can get disconnected from certain aspects of our personalities, different energy levels we possess. And if you want to connect more with your Venus energy, there are definitely ways you can go into your chart to see where it was when you were born, what house was it in, what zodiac sign was Venus in when you were born. You can also look at something called a progressed chart and see where Venus is now in your chart, what sign it's in now. Is it linking to any other planets or maybe the sun or the moon? Is it, linking with one of the angles on your chart, which are very important sort of milestones or thresholds in your chart? There's so many ways you can connect to Venus through astrology by trying to understand the metaphors around the chart and how the chart works. But you can also very, very quickly begin to understand that you don't need astrology, you don't need the chart, you don't need to know where Venus is in the sky. All you need to know is that this energy is always flowing through you at all times. It's never blocked. Like the energy itself is never blocked. The energy itself is never diminished, but we can get lost from it. Like we can kind of feel out of sync with it. Other parts of us can feel blocked off, but the Venus energy is always strong. Love is always in full force within you. It's just trying to find a way to believe it's there, to begin to connect to it so that you can feel that it's actually there and it feels real to you. It's not just me saying it. So there are many ways to do this. I'm also a life coach, and I have a bazillion tools that could help you, connect with that energy. But you can do it yourself by, reading about life coaching tools and coach yourself. But even without those tools, just push aside astrology, push aside life coaching. Just know that you were born with Venus inside of you. You have just as much Venus inside of you as anybody else on the planet, who's ever lived before your time, who lives now and will live in the future. You have equal amounts of Venus, all of you, inside of you. That's what you need to know. You are Venus. And when you're acting out your day and you're making decisions and you're talking, you can embody and spread, the good stuff of Venus, the love, the abundance, the fertility, the creativity, the strong sense of justice, of right and wrong and ethics. You can live from that place at all times. It's inherent. It's just built into you. You can't extract it from yourself. And I just want you to know, when you pay attention to astrology, the way I see it and the way it truly seems to me is that we're not talking about these puppet masters out in the sky, in the form of a planet, pulling our strings and forcing us into uncomfortable situations or good situations. It's really that somehow the way the planets orient themselves around the sun, and sorry, I've got hair like on my lips, orient themselves around the sun and in relationship to Earth and us, somehow moves energy is a very unscientific way of saying it, so that it flows through us. And when we're born with Venus in a certain part of our chart, that is our special mark of Venus. And it is something that you just can never get rid of, no matter how hard you try. And I think for people who are feeling a lack of Venus, like I don't have love in my life, or I don't feel loved, or I don't feel very loving, I don't feel love energy, I just feel very disconnected from it. Maybe if you tried just shifting your gaze a little bit from those statements to, what if Venus is actually inside of me this whole time? This whole time I felt disconnected. This whole time I felt unloved. This whole time I felt unloving. This whole time I feel like there's no love in my life. What if Venus is just like here, and it's never gone anywhere, and it's always been here? What if I just never looked at it that way? What if I never saw that? I just couldn't see it for some reason. Just ask yourself, what if? Kind of play around with that idea. What if you are Venus, whether you're a woman or a man, or no matter how you identify, what if you are Venus? Like really Venus. It's just a cool thing to contemplate, and it can really shift the way you look at yourself, at love, and astrology. So just think about that. Take care.